on the wall yet.
And this is out of the conference room in Florida?
In South Florida, yes. So we're down by Pompano Beach. So little bit north of Fort Lauderdale. Were you guys
Does that mean
all Atlanta, right?
We're both Atlanta Metro, yeah.
Okay.
Where is that? No, there. Sorry, I'm doubling up on ourselves. So wait a minute, you're based South Florida. Are you Southeast rep? I mean, I want to jump right in because that sounds crazy to me. That's like most of the reps for the Southeast, they stick them in Atlanta because you can kind of get everywhere. Do you have to drive the length of Florida to go anywhere?
So interesting question. So I like starting off with that. So with us being more of like I'd say kind of a startup company. So we started 2015, Diadem, right? And in the tennis world, that's very young. A lot of these brands have been around 1950s or 1950s, 1915s. So for us right now, we have a very strong sales team. We all stay here. We have one guy in Texas who's the main Texas rep because for us, we felt as a market, Texas was very heavy, especially junior end, which is kind of something I'll go in a little bit later, but more of our direction. But everyone else, we stay in South Florida. We have our HQ here where we actually have like a full hitting lane, offices, all that kind of stuff. And for right now, what we do is more so I call college coaches, high schools, all over the country. We don't really have specific territory reps just yet because we're still young in the game. We're still building. As we continue to grow, we have more plans to put people within that, but we'll travel accordingly. I mainly go to USTA conventions. That will be what I'll travel for because we'll get a bunch of coaches into one room where I'm able to basically showcase the product, which is what we need being so young. So as of right now, we only have that one Texas guy that's like the territory rep, but everyone else kind of has more so pickleball facilities, coaches, juniors, tennis facilities. It goes like that.
So it's kind of what, not where in this case.
Exactly.
Gotcha. And so we were talking to Ryan. Is it Theimer? Is it Theimer?
Theimer. There you go.
All right. So I kept saying Theimer in my head. I'm like, I'll bet this is good. I'm going to be wrong on this one.
At least you didn't say Theimer. That's the one that's the most popular.
No. I wouldn't make that mistake.
Yeah,
all right.
right.
So Theimer. All right. Like Dominic Thiem.
Timer, like the time.
Oh, time.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah,
So I got my Dali clock up in the.
Yeah. See, I like that.
It's not what I'd hoped for. It doesn't come off the end when I got it, but hey, it's Dali. Can't say no.
It looks good. It looks good.
And I got my Tennis Monsters shirt. Bobby, have you even seen these yet? We haven't shown the Tennis Monsters shirt out yet.
But you got to stand up. I can't see the whole thing.
Yeah, gotta get the
There
we
Tennis
go.
Monsters, right? So these are brand new in the shop. The kids are asking me like crazy. Coach Sean, where can I get the Tennis Monsters? Like, where is that? And I'm like, we do it. You can only get it through us. We're excited about it. And that's one of the things we want to talk to you, Ryan, about is you say you're targeting personally your USTA conferences. And that sounds brutal, like having to go in and convince these guys, no, Wilson's fine, but we're better and here's why. Or at least we're a relevant alternative and here's why. Because saying we're better than Wilson's probably dangerous. Because they're the big dog in that
double-edged sword.
Right?
Yeah, double-edged sword.
Yeah. So, how do you break into Atlanta? So one of the things we're doing here is we're trying to figure out how do we get products like Diadem. We've had conversations with another small-ish company in Technifiber and Lacoste, where they've got a little different way of doing things than the larger, like you said, the companies that have been around for thousands of years. How are you getting into an area like Atlanta? Is that something you've thought about? Is that a big market for you, or do you just say, well, I'm told to go to the USTA conferences and that's what I focus on?
So Georgia is actually, when I first started, I started in doing high schools. So I had 25 states. Georgia was actually one of them. So I did have the opportunity to reach out to a lot of these high school coaches and teaching pros within the Georgia area, specifically because I knew how well Atlanta is and how many people are coming in and playing tennis. So I'll tell you one thing that definitely started that wasn't really so my doing, but when COVID happened, and bless everyone's heart that went through it, but everyone had the supply chain issue. Fortunately for us, we didn't. So a lot of these places needed tennis balls. And in the tennis world, word of mouth is going to be something that's very important. So if I tell you that our tennis ball is good comparative to your friend that played with it on the weekend, you're probably going to listen to your friend. So we had an opportunity where no one had tennis balls. The Big Five didn't really have any of their equipment just yet, but we did. So we were able to get into these very high places, and they got to try our stuff. And for us to have that opportunity, then call and say, hey, well, this place tried it, this college is using it, this facility, give our equipment a chance was a big thing. So that was one. I would say it was kind of more of a give me and good place, good time for a lot of us. But I'd say the biggest thing right now that we're going off of is grassroots. So instead of attacking a big player or one big facility and just having one person say, hey, this is a great brand, we're going to target these kids that are going through futures and going through all these tournaments and really trying to get to a professional level of tennis, whether it's college or going to play pro. Those are the markets that we're going after. So we partner with Universal Tennis. That's a new thing that we have going. We're really going strong on getting these younger kids a better opportunity to play tennis and use this high quality equipment moving forward. And for us, that's been a great kind of step in, because a lot of these companies aren't really paying attention to the juniors, I'd say.
Yeah, we've got one of the things we're talking about with Bobby, and we're targeting potentially more for the juniors than really is there. Like the high schools as a good target to say, hey, they're not quite getting enough. In that case, are we really doing enough for them? And like you said, the Big Five, do they care? Is it just they're already out there and they're not really offering anything? Right. Bobby, you said you did some homework. We were talking earlier, and you said you did some homework on Diadem and interested in what they've got going on technically. And we want to ask all the questions, of course, about the strings, about the tennis rackets. And you said you're hiding pickleball, so we're going to have to ask about that as well.
Yeah. Throw them at me. Well, what kind of questions you got?
No, it's a tough road. I mean, I was involved with Mantis for a short period of time when they were trying to come to the country. And, it's all the same ideas, the Babolat playbook. We'll start with strings, go get 5. Hopefully one of them turns into Andy Roddick. And, but it's tough. How do you sustainability? I mean, I know you're sitting there. Where's the profitability? You're still using startup money. That's a big thing in the tennis industry. So many we see don't make it. Not because they're not quality, just because we run out of money.
Yeah. So again, kind of the hiding the pickleball end. So we started with string in 2015, then we went to balls. When the whole thing happened 2020, we were very afloat with the ball sales. Then we picked up in pickleball. And I'd say right now, for us to be a company trying to get into the lane of the Big Five, if we didn't have pickleball and the trust of that community and how fast that's growing, it would be a lot more of a difficult time to kind of get in. I'd say a lot of shops and facilities that include both are a lot more likely to listen to us because they want to try our pickleball stuff. They like it. It's really good. Let's try your tennis stuff now. So for us being a younger company and trying to stay afloat, if we didn't have the pickleball end, it would be a little bit of a different story. But I'd say after that COVID, with us going with the tennis balls and the pickleball thing, we've actually been very profitable after that. But 2015 to COVID, I wasn't with the company at that time. Mm-hmm. So it was 2 tennis pros that they were literally in their garage calling everyone. Evan and AJ are their names. They were the ones calling everyone from 2015 to 2020. There was 3 guys. One of them was basically helping for the general manager side of it. And they would just call, and that's all they would do. They would call every coach, get them out there. One of them has a few ATP points. They know what it's like to be in that kind of world. And they grinded from that time and got very fortunate with the supply chain stuff.
Well, I love the idea. First of all, this is what we have this conversation with a lot of tennis clubs. Use pickleball to be a revenue generator. Put the money into tennis. that's your opportunity. Exactly. This is a rare opportunity that paddle sports, tennis in general, has had to have something new come into that's really created a buzz. Use it properly. That, which is great. So it's buying you time, because I'm a firm proponent. Obviously, same thing with Mantis. Mantis, the gentleman who was the creator of Mantis, was essentially the Dunlop engineer. So he made a lot of great sticks. And when we actually got them into people's hands, it was, everybody, wow, this is unbelievable. It's hard. It's hard to find the instructor who is willing to go take on Wilson, because they're going to say, what is this product? What is Mantis? What is Diadem? Well, like you said, we've been actually used your balls at our club for the very reason you said, couldn't get any. We're big Wilson club, but couldn't get Wilson. Wilson's still on a boat somewhere. So, we bought 10 cases of balls, and like you said, great introduction, but we're small. We only have so much wall space. How are you doing? Are you making any inroads with any of the bigger online, even, retailers?
Yes. So, again, with big online retailers, it's going to be demand. So it's, we want this product, we're going to buy it, kind of thing. And Tennis Warehouse, that realm in the beginning, very hard, because there's no demand for a Diadem stick or Diadem string, because again, we're just not known on that level yet. So one of the biggest ones that really started for us, and we had a sales rep just walk up to them during a convention in a booth, was Pickleball Central. I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They're the largest online retailer for pickleball, and we're their top 5 brand on the website. So for sales and the pickleball realm, and they do some tennis too, but we're a top 5, top 3 brand on there. That's helped us get into the Amazon sphere. We're also going to go into PGA, Played Against Sports, a lot of those big sport complex kind of facilities and stuff. That was a big thing because we got in with Pickleball Central early and did so well.
We'll argue about whether Played Against Sports is a good idea at another time, but I understand. There's an urgency. I get it. I've been there.
Yeah. Not my end, but.
I mean, we can talk about play, because we have them here, and it's now, unfortunately, and Atlanta is a different market, so we can throw Atlanta out. So I'm an Atlanta tennis player. How do I go about finding out and trying one of your rackets?
So that's a great question. We have different sales reps here that are also dealing with reps within different states and stuff. That's not my end. I don't deal with that, but we have 2 different ends. So you could go online retail, and the only way you're really going to know about that is if your friend tells you to go online and buy the racket, which rarely happens. Usually you're going to want to play with it. You're going to want to touch it. You're going to want to feel it. That's going to come from, we have a lot of facilities that we pick up the pros there, and that's kind of on my end. That's where we'll get a lot of sales. So for you, if I don't know what level tennis play you're at, but let's say you're on the lower end, you're taking clinics, you're playing, we'll have a lot of head pros at facilities using our equipment, and that will be the biggest one right now on the tennis end for us. Is more so we have pros and reps using our equipment on the tennis facility end. That for us has been the best revenue in the sense of getting rackets, because again, right now online tennis wise is not as successful as it would be a tennis facility having a pro use our stuff and then sell it in the pro shop.
Well, you have how many different rackets?
So I actually have a few here. So we have 2 lines. We have a 100 square inch, and then we have the 90, 98. So we have basically a pure drive, very friendly racket. We have players on tour that are using that. And then we also have people who've never played tennis using that racket. The other end, we have the player's frame, a little bit stiffer than 98. Nova is the 100 square inch. Elevate is the 98. And within those 2 rackets, there will be different ones that vary in weight. So the Nova Light, we have a Plus, and then Elevate, we have the regular Light and Tour. And we started, obviously there's a couple different ones in the back here, but right now we have the Nova, which I brought, nice black color. This is the Gen 1 version. So we're going to come out with a new one beginning of 2024, but this is our best seller here. So this is what put us on the map for rackets. Very nice, easy racket to pick up and feel. And the thing that for us, and I know you asked about technology, It's created by tennis players. So they've used every racket on the market. They specifically created a lot of this stuff for tennis players and tennis pros, right? So they wanted to have something that they felt was missing in the market. Ours are foam filled, so that's not a thing that much anymore with a lot of these rackets. This will feel much like a peer drive, like I said. A lot of people feel as if they're missing something. It's because they're hollow. Ours are foam filled, a lot of dampening, very comfortable. That has set us apart for a lot of these rackets where they pick them up, they feel it, they play with it. They're like, wow, this is actually great. Lastly, this is the Gen 1 version of our Elevate. You can see here, it's kind of like our signature teal color. And then we upgraded to the Gen 2 this year, which has a little bit more of kind of like a royal navy blue color. I think this racket looks a lot better. I think they did a great job with this one. And we can go into it a little bit more, but there's some new technology in that racket too. It's called Craven, which is a German rubber material. And again, it's for dampening. And for us, we want to make a really comfortable player's frame for everyone. That's the goal.
Oh, fantastic. And we laugh, but aesthetics are important. It's got to look good.
I tell you what, especially in the world of juniors, they care more about the decal and how the strings look with the racket more so than the technology. So
yeah,
it's
that's important. The hard part. You're right. I mean, because Mantis was the same way. Like I said, quality stick made by tennis players, and we'd always laugh about, okay, why does the red and the black one sell well? Because they're Georgia colors, so red and black is going to sell really well here. And that. Exactly. So where are your weights for your different sticks?
So the Nova, and the nice thing is too, I love this. They have them on the racket right here, but Nova will be about 10.5 ounces. Okay. And again, that will vary. So the light is about, I don't remember from my memory right now. I think it's about 285 for the light. And then there's a plus. So that will be a ½ inch longer and a little bit heavier as well. That's about 305 grams. And then we have the Elevate. This one coming in straight at 305. The Tour is at 315, and then the Light's at 295 for the Elevate.
So you're hitting all the sweet spots.
Yeah, and then we have in the Nova we have a 105 as well. So there's a light and an ultralight for that. Kind of call it the resort racket. So anyone that's kind of on that end.
Well, again, very important.
They need it.
We spoke to the Technifiber rep, and that was a big drawback for Technifiber. There was no place to go. Yeah, it's great for Medvedev, but I don't have him at my club. So
exactly.
You have to think about it. Even though the one sells, or that's your exposure, you need the other one because not everybody's going to be comfortable in the other racket. So you have to have it, and that gets expensive. And I mean, that's what's hard because you got to buy both.
Well, and it's funny you mentioned that too, though. So one of the things, just having two rackets is another thing too. Everyone's always asking for when are you going to come out with a new frame, or like everyone loves variety, and the fact that the big five have 50 different frames to choose from. Comparative to two, again, on the online, realm, more online retailers like that variety because there's more sales, there's more, money coming in. Where for us, just two rackets with different weights, they really need the demand for that. So that's why you're going to see them a little bit more in pro shops and the pros using them.
And describe that for us, because we talked to the lay person. Is there, Bobby, what's the phrase for a lay tennis? The average tennis player? That doesn't sound appealing. If you talk
player improvement, player improvement racket.
The club player. We'll call that the club player.
Yeah, the club player. There we go.
Describe that. You've got two rackets. Who's it for? So is it Wilson? I can be tall, skinny. I can be old. I can be young. And there's a racket for everybody, right? Your two rackets that you got, who are you covering with that?
So good question. We do have junior rackets too. I didn't cover that. So we do have 19 all the way to 26. So that will help on that end when they're younger and everything. But it'll be the weights. And again, too, so for us, what we'll cater, I don't like saying a beginner racket, intermediate, or advanced, because again, for our beginner racket, which is the 100 square inch, our tour players are using it. So it's not necessarily a beginner racket. But what we'll do is we market the Nova as a very friendly racket. Anyone can pick it up. And really for the average player, what we end up doing is just having the demo program, because we don't have a kind of a set market yet where it's like, if you're smaller and shorter, you should use this one, because everyone's going to be a little bit different. So for us, what we've seen is just kind of allowing that demo program. And again, on the online sphere, there's very rarely them buying the racket because I'm 10 years old and I just started playing tennis and I know I need a racket, so I'm going to go buy Diadem. It's more so I'm at a high performance camp. My coach is telling me to use this racket. He puts it in my hand. So with the weights, it gives us a chance, if we get to talk to them, to kind of tell them, okay, you're taller, but you're skinny and you need a little bit more power. You should use the lights, because it's a little bit head heavy and all that kind of stuff. So average club player, what you're end up doing, you're not going to worry about the weights. You're either going to get the Nova or the Elevate, because the Nova is black and you're getting the black one, or because the Elevate's blue and you're getting the blue one.
Do you want the black one or the blue one?
That's really how it goes, to be honest with you. Yeah. So at the end of the day.
And so a high school player, same decision. So when Bobby says, hey, I got 30 high school kids and 10 of them need new rackets, because a few of them even are coming with their Walmart racket. How do we get Diadem? And I guess that leads to the question that is, how do you incentivize Bobby, as an example? And as a separate question, me with the juniors, with the younger kids, why or how am I incentivized in the same way that Wilson says, we're going to put you on our pro staff? Is it, Bobby's pro staff still a thing? Is it still called pro staff?
Yeah,
So,
I think it's still called that with this.
That incentive program to say, hey, here, coach, here's the Diadem, and this is why you're going to sell it to all your high school kids.
So good question. Number one, the thing to revert back to that we talked about, so we're small, right? So we have a salesperson here that says that we're big enough to compete, small enough to care. So the same thing with that kind of the coaches and all that. On Wilson's just going to give you a discount. That's it. You're done. Babolat, same thing. For us, what we do is we're reaching out to these coaches and we're letting them know that, hey, we have this equipment, I'll cover that and, what the benefits are. But the other thing is too, is you're going to have these players on the team. We're going to care about them. So it's basically going to be a sponsorship. They're going to be on our Instagram. If you win any matches, you tell me that it's going to go on the story so the kids see it. The other thing that we're doing too, I work with college coaches. We're going to have a database of all these college coaches, D1, D2, D3. That's going to be on our end. Who's ever using our equipment, high schools, we're going to send them different slideshows of players in different schools that are using our equipment and send it over to those coaches, kind of as a promotion for Diadem. And then also too, it's going to help the younger kids that if a college coach sees the high school name, they might be a little bit more likely to sign some of those players. So we explain that to the coaches that we're going to take the time to actually work with you and make the kids excited to play tennis. Because what I've seen is a smaller drive to play tennis on the high school end. A lot of kids come with Walmart rackets. They come with their dad's racket from the garage that's wooden because their parents are telling them to play. They're not going out and I want to play tennis. There are some of those kids and, there's a good amount of them still. But what I've seen on the high school end is a lot of these coaches are struggling to get kids to have structure and want to play high performance tennis. When we come in with Diadem, they're getting shirts, they're getting uniforms, matching bags. They feel as if they're on a little bit more of a high performance level. And we're able to do that through providing the equipment, putting them on the Instagram stories, the colleges. And that's really what we've seen a lot of, especially high school and college coaches want to pick up our equipment for that fact.
So what are your price points?
So as a coach, you guys are going to get different price points with that than the club player. So for me, I deal wholesale. So I'm not talking to, a customer coming in that just needs a racket. I don't deal with that. If you're a coach and, you're buying a bunch of balls and you're buying, you need bags and uniforms, you deal with me. So with that, you get margins, taken off because you're purchasing so much in bulk, like Costco type thing. So as a coach, you get basically 40 to 50% off of what the retail price would be under our, we call it a premier team. So if you're a high school coach, I reach out to you, you buy balls already, and whatever budget the school gives you, if you're private or public, you're going to need equipment. And again, it's more so just go off Amazon, BSN. Sometimes Wilson will give you a 20 to 30% coupon code you just put online. For us, you deal with us directly, and I'm giving you an opportunity to purchase. If you're buying 10 cases, you get one free. You get the 40 to 50% margins. Everyone's price is a little bit different, so I can't really say like if you're a high school coach what your racket would be, because online they're $225 and $235, but as a coach, if you're buying 5 rackets, you're going to get 50% off of that, basically.
No, what I was curious about was what is the end point, because that's a big thing. I mean, that's the tough part. You don't have name recognition, but it still costs you. So you got to go up, because I mean, when we were with Mantis, well, I've never heard of Mantis. Are you cheaper? Why? I have some room as I'm cutting into my margins, and the good news, I don't know your situation, but it's seeming that you didn't have a supply chain issue. Where are you manufacturing?
We're manufacturing overseas, so we have our factories in Asia, and we actually got very fortunate with a lot of our manufacturers. Our balls in the same factories, U.S. Open. A lot of our facilities are the same factories that these big brands are using, and we get an opportunity to get in there, make our equipment there. And as you know, everyone pretty much has it made in the same place. Some are a little bit different, but you just put it.
We can say the C word, China.
Yeah, exactly. Asia sounds, it's a little.
It's better, but it's China.
Yeah, it is. At the end of the day.
End of the day,
you're in that 220 range for the Nova and the Elevate, and that is, I guess that's the question. Bobby says, "Hey, this is a brand we've never heard of. Why am I switching? I've been using one of the other brands for thousands of years, and now all of a sudden it's not like, hey, here's a new thing. It's only $100. You're still in that quality tennis racket price range."
Right. So I this is kind of a question for you too, Bobby. So for me, what I've done, I don't try and ever act like a salesperson. For me, what I don't want to do on the phone is say, hey, I know you really like Wilson US Open, but I'm going to get them this much cheaper for you. Because if you're a true tennis player, you're not going to care. You like Wilson US Open, you're going to buy them. Right. But if I can convince you that, hey, this is a very similar product, but here's the things that Diadem's going to do for you, rather than you just buying a tennis ball, and I can also save you money. For me, that's done tenfold, and kind of given a little bit more confidence on our product, rather so than, hey, we're cheaper, try us out, kind of thing. So when you were going through all of that, did you ever feel as if kind of saying, hey, I can save you $100 on a real comparative to just saying, hey, ours is as good as Wilson or whatever brand you're comparing to, try it out? What works for you?
The challenge is I was you were me. When I was handing it to players at my club, price was never an issue, because they already bought. They had the confidence that I was introducing something that I believed in. B, it was a darn good product. It was like the balls when we brought it. Well, what is Diadem? Well, they're good, aren't they? So now everybody wants to know, how do I get Diadem? So that's I'm all for that. But I felt the challenge was, how do I scale it? How do I find 100 U's that see the value, see the importance of continuing to bring in new technology? Because even, I laugh, Mantis went away, but we had an impact. Ounces changed a little bit, and they were in direct correlation to what we were doing. The colors of rackets changed a little bit, and they were in direct correlation to what we were doing. So you sit there and go, they might not have wanted to recognize us, but they felt us. And I get, so to me, it's always, how do we keep you guys alive? To find the 5 to 10 where you can grow. And let's face it, hey, like I said, this is the Babolat playbook. Where did Babolat succeed? Well, they found Andy Roddick. And, at 14, and his gang of 5 all played Babolat. Each one of them went D1, and a couple of them you heard of. And, now all of a sudden Babolat's a household name. And because, like you said, and I'm on Wilson's staff, but hey, Wilson cannibalizes the line. And that's how they do as much keeping business, or difficult for somebody like you to enter the market, as they do. And that's why I'm always interested in technology, because let's face it, like you said, Wilson might make the Clash in 4 different weight categories. But that 10.9 clash is not the same as the 9.4 clash.
Yeah, and
so
if you weigh it too.
Yeah, there's a huge difference there, guys. And so there, and it's not getting addressed. That's why we need companies like yourselves. And I take it away from even the Babolat, the Volcal playbook. Volcal came in and really sold the hell out of the V1. And they were smart in doing that. When we started with Volcal and introduced Volcal, and Atlanta was the #1 selling Volcal city in the country when
really?
back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And we had a lot to do with that. They had the V1. We would stick the V1, everybody could play it. It was 10.6, but it was, the dampening technology. So everybody at Tennis Elbow would say, okay, I want to hear about this.
Yeah.
And it was a good stick. And they sold the heck out of the V1. And they were never going to be the typical tennis company to broaden beyond, and they did it. They got Boris Becker involved. They got McEnroe involved. And they lost their focus. And, they never took that next step. So it's hard. I mean, I love the idea of the high school market. I think that is an underappreciated market from a standpoint of the future of tennis and today's tennis, because I think those kids, I mean, we had our I think Technofibers, Luke Jensen told, 70% of D1 tennis players never play tennis again once they get out of college. That's terrible. Those are not good numbers. So, what are we doing to grow the game if your biggest players, and let's face it, kids are your biggest sellers because they need more than one racket. The average adult is not buying two in most cases. Kids are buying 2 and 3. So you need to have that player stick. So, it's a challenge. That's why, we want to support it all we can and get the word out. And it like I said, now they're tough because obviously technology, you're offering something different. Who sells that? TIA? We can have that debate offline. How effective they are. You got to pay, you got to play the game, you got to kiss the ring. I get it. But it's not, if you look at an ROI, you're wondering. You're really looking for 10 guys like you, and who go out and spread the word and become disciples. And then, like you said with pickleball, lightning strikes. We get the kid that's carrying that, and we say, "Wow!" and it becomes a household. So, a lot of it is staying alive. So, I love the fact that you guys are taking advantage of pickleball in that capacity. I don't think that's anything to hide. I shout that to everybody in tennis: take advantage of the opportunity.
I tell you what, too. I don't mean to jinx this or anything, but I don't know why the tennis companies too haven't, because our biggest compliment in pickleball is the bevels on our handles. For whatever reason, apparently we're the only company that you could really feel it. So a lot of tennis players, which is mostly going to be the main players now of pickleball, really like our stuff because it's a tennis brand heavy feeling paddle, right? Not instead of racket paddle. Again, I don't mean to speak for them, but I feel as if Wilson came in and spent a bunch of time. You get a lot of these people that see the red W and they're like, all right, this is going to be the best thing moving forward. Just haven't taken advantage, and that's why we've been going so strong into this market. Is there's really not a top brand right now. Right. You could say Selkirk is probably, just because of how flooded they are and how much time, but we've done well enough without much marketing, without much of that saturation, and it's done very well. So 2024 is going to be our big push for tennis. We're going to release that new Nova and all that kind of stuff, and it'll be exciting. And I'll tell you what too, which is going to be interesting, is people really, especially if you've been playing tennis for a while, you might be a little bit out of this, but for newer players in college and people in their 20s to 40s, they're dying for something new in the world of a brand. So everyone knows Wilson, everyone knows Babolat, everyone knows Head, and Prince is still kind of up there a little bit. But
it depends what day it is.
Yeah, it's still a household name, but everyone's using it, right? So if you could be a younger player out there with something that you can meet the owners and come in and see all of it, that's what they want. They want that desperately. Tennis is on this like new thing. I kind of compare it to golf a little bit with the live golf, where they want to make it a little bit more different and do something to kind of make it a little bit more exciting. Like I got to go to the NCAA finals at the USTA campus. I've never seen a more lively crowd in tennis. And that's not usually it's not usually done. So
Right.
for us, what I've seen and what a lot of people really like is like Yonex has kind of done it, and Salenko is being the cool brand in tennis. And I feel as if whoever's going to take that next mark is going to be that next brand. Again, Yonex has kind of gone on that end where a lot of the younger college kids, it's cooler to use that racket, the blue with the yellow string and, you know, their red logo and everything. I feel as if for us at Diadem, kind of going on that route of being, you know, we have the younger crowd, same thing with Salenko where they were handing out string to all those colleges. I feel as if for us to go that route is going to be a lot better so than, you know, just signing one player on tour and try and get us our rackets into a pro shop.
Oh, there's more of those players. There always will be. I mean, I agree with it. I mean, that was our philosophy. I completely agree with the philosophy. And you still need money, and that's and again, that's where pickleball is your. Yeah. And like, I think that's a great thing. You know, so we just had, and pickleball's exploding up here. Alta is finally adopting a pickleball league. So what are you doing up here in that capacity? I mean, we had the event last weekend. It was the largest pickleball event ever, anywhere. More than 1,200 people participated over 5 days. That's not even people who walked in. And the good part is, and I shouldn't say this out loud because they're getting more sophisticated. At least a year ago, they weren't that sophisticated yet as far as what they were asking for. So they've done well. I know it's coming, but there's still opportunity there.
So I think I could say this too. So we locally in Florida, there's no indoor courts. Right. We and especially too right now that's kind of the sphere where a lot of these developers are taking over like malls and remaking them into pickleball facilities, and you know the chicken and pickle and all that kind of stuff. So us at Diadem, we actually just built an indoor facility that we're opening up on June 17th. So it's going to be the only indoor facility. So for us, what we're doing for that is we're going to hope to hold tournaments there, kind of as you're saying with the PPA and the MLP. It's in the basketball arena for a college that's right here. They no longer have a basketball team. So it's going to have like that stadium seating, all that kind of stuff. So that's one hope. We're going to try and host a little bit more tournaments now, which is something like, you know, like the Diadem Open or all that kind of stuff, which I think would be something great. Because especially too, the one thing right now that's so big is amateur tournaments, because everyone wants to know where they're at. Because everyone goes to the local park and they play and they're like, well, I'm a 4-0, I'm a 5-0, and they want to go play tournaments and stuff. So that's a big thing right now.
I'm going pro.
Yeah, and I get it too, because it's exciting and there's not really a ceiling yet. Because you technically, a lot of these people that, you know, especially were
called Jack Sock.
Yeah, it's coming. The ceiling is coming. Yeah,
it's coming. We had our pro who's his name's Christian Alashon. I think he's like top 10 right now in the world for singles. He went the tennis route, college, all that, switched over and into the pickleball world. I think we're going to start seeing that a lot more. And then on the other end for pickleball, the thing that's been really nice for us, we haven't really had to do much marketing. It's been very interesting. You see a lot of Selkirk commercials, you know, Good Morning America, like a lot of like kind of plugs in with that. Where for us, we've just really put out our product into like Pickleball Central and the reps' hands and people playing. And we've been able to stay in that top 3 range. So for us in the pickleball world, I don't see much more marketing coming because we don't need it technically. I think what's going to end up happening a little bit more is you're going to start seeing more pros pop up on TV using the paddles, and hopefully too that our facility is going to start holding a lot of these tournaments now.
Well, I love the facility idea. We'd certainly be interested in picking your brains and potentially doing something up here, because again, I have a friend on the pickleball side, and he can't keep the rackets. And again, he's just limited by he's a small. His reach isn't that big, but it's not comparative shopping yet. I want to play it if it's good and it doesn't break, because that's another thing. People are starting to playing for 6 months to a year. They break every now and then. Like, Wilson did get into it, made a cheaper pickleball. They're about to go on the next level. We'll see. But, they broke. I mean, we had pickleball rackets all over. Where's the handle? And it wasn't because somebody tomahawked it. It was just the strain of, the handle to the head, that it would snap there. So I think there's a great opportunity there to really, and I love the idea of opening up a facility and keep it central. This way you're selling it, and we're big fans in Atlanta. The end user drives the product. It's not, the pros. I get it. I am one. I'm interested more than most, but you only have so many things you can sell. Right. So unfortunately, you go safe. That's what Wilson provides you everything. They're going to soup to nuts. We will find something. If you don't like red, we got blue. And it stinks because it really should be about the quality. And but I do think it works because Volcal did have success. They just misstepped, and you don't get, that's the hard part. You don't get a lot. If you're smaller, do you have the finances to make an error? And, they went too big too soon, and it didn't materialize. So like I said, I think you guys are smart in that capacity. You're associated with the game. You're in a good state. I mean, the High School Tennis Association, are you involved with them down there in Florida?
Yeah, we are. So that's the USDA events I've done. So I've had the opportunity to go to Texas, Michigan, Minnesota, and Ohio for those like national coaches conferences and everything. Mm-hmm. Those have been very successful. For me, that has been my best way into this. So because a lot of these coaches I love too, because they're always open to trying new stuff. Like you'll get a lot of, and I understand this, you'll get a lot of, players in, like U16s and futures and stuff that they're using this one racket they've used since 10,
sure.
10 years old. They've been winning with for years. They're not going to switch, which is fine. Right. I mean, I probably wouldn't either if I was in their shoes. But if you're a pro, or if you're a high school coach, or you always love trying new stuff and getting them in players' hands. So feedback's been great with that. And what's been awesome too is once we're there in person and they actually get to hold, and I'm sure this, actually get to hold the racket or the ball or the string, it's a done deal. Because then they actually know, hey, this is different. I want to try it. And it's like, oh, this actually really feels almost like my Wilson blade. I want to see what this is about, kind of thing. So for me too, I find those to be the most successful when you can be in front of them. But I mean, again, as you know, I can't be in every sphere in the country. So
yeah, scaling is the tough issue, because again, and it stinks, because you're right. If I was a pro shop, perfect pro shop, yes, you have to have Wilson. Yes, you probably have to have that. But I also want that Diadem. I want that racket that nobody's heard of, that is a little bit different. Hey, you try this. And like you said, you'd be we saw it. We saw it with Volcal. There were enough people that, I want to be different. What, Volky? Like you said, announcing names, it was Volky. What? No, it's not Volky. It's Volcal. But, I want the Volky racket. So, yes, there were enough people out there that wanted to try it. And Atlanta did very well by it. So, like I said, I you guys are fighting a good fight. We want you to be successful. So, whatever we can do to help out. And we will say another cheap branding opportunity, but it sounds right up your alley, who you're going to, is virtual tennis. It's coming. There's 3 companies out there already that are all, trying to make it where when you go in, it's a completely experience, so you do see sponsorship banners. So I think that's enough, for your age group, when it launches and it gets a little further down the line, that's going to be a good age group. Now, I want to ask you, this as much for ours as well. Have you done anything with TikTok?
So yes and no. So we had a previous social media manager that I'd say wasn't at a professional level in the sense of like the TikTok, like it was whatever. So we have a new person. TikTok's hard. I'm younger, obviously. I'm 25, and my age group is very into that. I don't have a TikTok personally; it's just not my thing. But my girlfriend does. She'll show me stuff all the time. It's very satire kind of material to that kicks off, and I feel like that's a very hard language to understand. And I think. I don't know. TikTok is something that if it takes off, it's good, but putting all the attention into it.
Oh, no. I'm just throwing bait in the water, little chum. That's all I'm curious. Yeah. I have a 17-year-old. 17-year-old
I think
daughter.
it's great. Like if you could do it, it's good. We haven't had anyone here that's had like an idea for a TikTok video that makes sense yet. And I think that's really hard to do. Is like if you're just posting like informational stuff and like here's our new racket and you're spinning it like people do on Instagram, there's no point, but there's people that make joke like again like the satire thing and they're getting millions of likes on it. Like I don't know, there's these car dealerships that their social media managers will just they're called memes and they'll just put that as their marketing and they'll get millions of likes on it just because it's silly.
Find yourself a 12-year-old girl who likes that teal racket, because again, just having a 17-year-old daughter, there's 3 products that I point to that I just laughed that I've driven all over Atlanta to find, which is the Stanley, the cup. They all had that, the big Stanley water holder, which all the other ones that came previously weren't good enough. This one had a handle. So now we got to have a Stanley. The other one is Logan Paul's Prime. This is, I've driven all over Atlanta to get, and I'm addicted to it. So now it's transferred that I have to drive because I have the flavor that's the hardest to find is my favorite. So literally there's like a network of us that goes and, it's here. Boom. We all go to get the bomb pop because, I grew up on bomb pops. So it's awesome. And then the new one is the Starbucks, the pink drink that, that somebody went in and said, could you do this for me? They started doing it at Starbucks. Now they're selling it. I went to Target. It said, pick it up at Target. I could get it tomorrow. I couldn't find it anywhere in the store, but I've driven all over. So I'm just like, if you can find it, like you said, and we're at the same boat and that's why I love the shirts. Cause that's the market. And I laugh because I'm with you. We're a different generation. I'm a much different generation, but I like different. These kids follow it's the lambs to slaughter, man. It's all the lemmings, Dave Matthews. We're all looking the same. We all the comfort zone. My daughter, a couple of years ago, she doesn't play tennis. She's a singer. They're all into tennis skirts. This was the
really?
fashion wear for teenage girls. I'm like, I could get you all the tennis skirts you want. What are you talking about? Tennis skirts. You never had any interest in tennis whatsoever. They follow the trend. So that's all I get. That age group. If you got a 17 or 12-year-old girl who's good, who can spin a racket and say, "Hey, I just won this tournament," trust me. You do it first. You have a real product. We're going to sell shirts that way. But you have something. I'd be curious about how it succeeds just by just doing it. And seeing where it goes.
I'll give you a little backstory. So Instagram's something I don't understand social media that much. Like I want to. I think it's, especially with the way the world's growing, how you just said the virtual tennis and stuff. I think that's probably the most moneymaker right now.
Yeah.
Kind of moving forward, maybe not in the tennis world just yet, but it will be. I've gone after Instagram influencers because they're very brand loyal.
Yeah.
So as long as you give them a free t-shirt, free hat, goes a very long way, always going to wear it. There's this one person in particular that I was able to pick up on social media, and they brought me in D1 level players. And these like there's this one 10-year-old who's he's like a 4.4 UTR, I think right now, which is awesome for his age and everything. So if you finding those people that, because he's got probably like 5,000 followers, but again, it's in the tennis world, social media, there's not like huge accounts so much as I think there's one trick shot person for tennis that's like a social media account, and then there like that kind of thing, where for soccer there's millions kind of thing. So he's known in that world of social media. So as soon as he picks up the Diadem thing, everyone else gets this, 5,000 people get to see it like that.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, that would take weeks to do so.
Right.
I think influencers are an interesting venture to go into because they have this like backing that almost makes it worth it, which I find very interesting. Because it's, back before social media, it would just be like a bunch of fans, but now this is all just people that they have right there, and it's done very well because all he has to do is just say, yeah, I like this, and they're all going to trust him. And the same thing with the pro. So
it's funny. We're finding out with podcasting. That's the other thing. Not that we have the base that we ever want to be yet, but they're exceptionally loyal. And the turnover and the transfer rate to a purchase is incredible. So you're going to see that in everybody's budget, trying to find those people and those avenues that have demonstrated such product loyalty. So again, it's, you guys are making the right steps. You're in that generation, which is good too, where it's a little, social media is the one guess for me. I'm too old for that. We always, the 17-year-old daughter is my marketing manager saying, "Oh, okay, what are they doing on TikTok? What are you doing on Instagram?" So
that's all you need.
Yeah, it is funny. I wish she'd play tennis. It would be more helpful. But
yeah, eventually, again too. That's what we're trying to get to is making tennis cool again. I'd really say that's really.
What did he just say?
Yeah.
Did you
wait a minute? Say that again one more time for me, Ryan.
Wait a minute. Did he steal our line?
Oh, did I really? I didn't even read that. I promise you.
Oh my God, that's I love this kid.
Making tennis cool again. That I have a coworker here that he does the juniors. His name's Kevin. He's the one that really runs our Instagram. If you ever see our Instagram page, he's the one that's in front of it. That's like I really, I'll talk about other brand, but I really like Solinco. Like I really like what they did. And they went on that. They wanted to be the cool brand, get with the cool college coaches. They're wearing the bucket hats and stuff, and get in with them, because that's what is so starving right now for the sport, is the next generation to pick it up and to do. That's why the Live Golf I think is interesting, because it's loud, it's cheering, there's music playing while they're hitting the ball, which is never known, or not never known, but never done before. But everyone's watching it. Everyone wants to do it. Everyone thinks it's really cool because it's a new thing. I think that's why pickleball is picking up so quickly. Like tennis needs that too right now. Tennis needs the Kyrgios and those kinds of people that are having a style with tennis, making it different, so these younger kids can get excited to play it.
Make it fun. It's ridiculous. It's a sport where you play and you can't get cheered for. What is going to draw a kid to a sport where he doesn't get any applause? It makes no sense whatsoever. Yeah. And I left at my club. I started at a new club, 8 years ago, and I would always play music. And in the beginning, I can't concentrate. I'm like, dude, if you're going to play at the U.S. Open, you got planes going over your head.
Yeah, what's going to make the difference?
Music is a lot easier than planes. Now, literally, we have a 12-court facility. There's 12 different little stereos playing their music, and I've become I know my generation is late 70s, early 80s. The kids the people 10 years younger than me, they're all into the 90s. You go back to the music that you were in high school and college with, because that's when you had the most free time, the most passionate about it. So that's what you always fall back to. So all these case studies I get to do from being a tennis coach, but it's just funny how you can change it. And University of Georgia, speak to them, because they're huge as far as the craziness. And you wouldn't think so, because it's been such a dominant program for so long. You think, and Dan's no longer there, so it probably changed a little bit when McGill finally retired. But that's a wild experience. TCU, my alma mater, is they made baseball and tennis fun to go to. So it's tough.
That would make you want to go to that school to play the sport too.
Exactly.
In the tennis world, Georgia is known as the best, live, arena, or however you want to call it.
Yes.
So that's going to make people want to go and play there and do that. And I think that the music thing, and because what ends up happening, like you said, so 70% of those people that play college tennis, they're done. They hate it. It is the hardest sport. I mean, you can argue about golf and baseball and all that, but mentally, if you hit a shot in the net, it's your fault. You can't blame anyone else. And that's every single day, every practice, so you got to make it fun. You got to make it something that is not, I missed a shot, I never want to play this sport again, I hate myself kind of thing. You want to make it a good time, music's playing in the background. And I think too, that's why pickleball is picking up, right? Because I can go to my local park, go play with a bunch of my friends and random people there. Tennis, I have to reserve a court, gets all competitive.
Pick up basketball. Pick up basketball. Old days, pick up basketball. Ryan, I love it. I mean, we've taken a lot of your time. I know Sean's got to get us to the king of tennis question, but thank you for your time. We will certainly be in touch. Awesome. Love to have you involved with some of the things we're doing just to get it out there. And let's put it in people's hands. Let them decide.
I love it. Thank you, man.
Very good.
I appreciate
Sean,
it.
take it away.
Yeah, so we've got our question, and if you paid attention to the email, you should know it's coming. So this shouldn't be hitting you.
I knew it was
shouldn't
coming.
be hitting you as a surprise. But my favorite question for sure is, if you were king of tennis, whether it's a day, a year, forever, doesn't matter, anywhere, local, globally, you were king of tennis. Is there anything you would do or change?
Yeah, so the one thing that I would change mainly with the sport of tennis is the fact that it's this gentleman's sport and it's prim and proper. That's the one thing I would change. I know that's a very kind of controversial thing to do, because a lot of people do, and you know, tennis is the way it's always been since, you know, the 1900s and stuff. But for me, the one thing I would change is really making it kind of that gentleman's sport and making it a little bit more inclusive for everyone to play. If you want to wear a basketball jersey when playing, wear a basketball jersey. You don't need to wear all white. I think for me, that would be the one thing I'd change.
So you agree with the idea that, was it Tiafo said? He said we should have more wrestling, more things going on during a tennis match at that level?
Yes. Yeah, yelling during a serve, all that. Like, it happens in basketball when they're doing a free throw. Like, why can't they do it in tennis?
Exactly. Well, how about what Luke said? I love Luke said, like, have a NASCAR pit stop. Everybody jump over. Yeah, here's a guy giving you nutrition. Here you guy giving you a massage. You know, once it's set, awesome. We do a pit stop. I thought that, again, it's just simple marketing. More people involved brings more people, because now you got 5 people who are jumping over to give him. Well, he's got 5 friends that want to see him jump over. You know, you're right. Tennis has never figured that out. They've held. It's a great game, and I completely agree with you from a skills standpoint, and I don't think it's sold well enough by the industry. Probably the toughest sport you're going to play. I was a baseball player. I will always say hitting a baseball being thrown at you at 90 some odd miles an hour is probably the single most difficult thing to do. Yeah. But from a combination standpoint, there is nothing more challenging than tennis at its highest level. And tennis does a miserable job of letting people know that.
These are world class. I think that's
world class.
They play for 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, and it's just them. Like, no basketball, yes, very, very physically demanding sport, but no one's doing that. Not even soccer.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And like I said, those are the things that tennis has just never figured out. For I don't know why, what reason. And I know it might not be because we don't have a great American. I don't know. We embraced Federer. We will embrace greatness. Yeah. It's a difficult sport. And that's the whole thing. Look, my daughter's in musical theater. I don't know where she got her voice from. I can't carry a tune across the street. It doesn't mean I don't appreciate good theater. I can go watch. If I wasn't a player, it doesn't mean I can't appreciate what they're doing on a tennis court. Right. It's just a problem. And Atlanta's the living proof. We always say, oh, how does a tournament fail in Atlanta? Well, because they're players. They're not going to watch. They don't know how to watch. They haven't had to watch tennis. As a junior, you watch tennis. You had to. You were waiting. Here, they show up for their match. They play their match and they go. Or they start drinking and have a donut. So, they're not watching the game. And, the good for the coaches, that's why nobody ever really gets a lot better, because you miss out on a valuable teaching tool, because you got to watch the game. So, like I said, we took up a lot of your time, Ryan. Thank you so much. We know where to find you. How do you travel? Do you guys got guys up here?
We have reps and stuff. As we get bigger, I'm starting to travel a lot more. Just kind of as the company grows. So what I've done before, and what I'll usually do is certain people I'll go up and travel for and meet them in person, all that kind of stuff. But as of right now, I'd have to ask, because I'm on, again, like high school, college end, but there's this guy named Fabio that's very involved in Georgia, because he's actually from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. He's got a bunch of reps and pro shops and all that kind of stuff there that be able to purchase. But diademsports.com will be like the best to see everything. Everything will be there included. And then if anyone ever needs anything, diademsports_Ryan is my Instagram. Okay. Anyone could reach out anytime. Happy to help. And then you guys got my personal info too, so feel free to share that.
I'm trying to remember whose house we went to get the balls. That was great too. We didn't have to worry about
Yeah, so that's yeah, that happens.
Yeah, we literally went to the guy's house. He's, oh, no shipping costs. Just come pick him up. Great.
Yeah, that's startup company vibes. That's how it is.
Hey, it's awesome. Awesome. Make it accessible. We thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. This was awesome. I really appreciate you guys' time and everything.
Great. We'll talk again. Thank you, sir. Best of luck.
Have a good one, guys.
Bye-bye. So I think here's the good part that we're finding. Tennis has got some hope because there's some good people in it. If they don't get picked up by somebody else.